Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. India's Supreme Court upholds abrogation of Article 370, directs early restoration of statehood and elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Prime Minister Modi calls it historic.
Whether the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, by which the state of Jammu and Kashmir was bifurcated into two union territories, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh, is constitutionally valid.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches Viksit Bharat at 2047, a platform for youth to contribute towards a developed India. Indian stock market on record high. BSE Sensex crosses 70,000 mark for the first time. Nifty 50 trading above 21,000 level. Tensions rise in South China Sea. Philippines summons Beijing's ambassador, calls country's aggressive actions against its vessels a serious escalation. A five-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court of India pronounced its verdict on a batch of petitions challenging the abrogation of Article 370 and the reorganization of the state into union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. India's Chief Justice said that Jammu and Kashmir does not hold any internal sovereignty after accession to India in October 1947. Chief Justice of India also said that Article 370 is a temporary provision and interim arrangement. He further said use of precedent power was not nullified and that Supreme Court can't sit over President's decision. The Supreme Court holds that part of the precedent to issue a notification that Article 370 ceases to exist subsists even after the dissolution of Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly. The court upholds abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir constitutionally valid and has directed Election Commission of India to conduct elections to the Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir by 30th September 2024. Supreme Court has asked centre submission on the restoration of statehood of Jammu and Kashmir. The court also upholds the reorganization of Ladakh as a union territory. The court has directed to set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to help restore peace between communities. The Apex Court reserved the judgment on September 5th after a 16-day argument session. The central government had said that abrogation of Article 370 was temporary and is aligned with the legal framework.
Whether the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, by which the state of Jammu and Kashmir was bifurcated into two union territories, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh, is constitutionally valid, bearing in mind, 1, the first proviso to Article 3, which requires that a bill affecting the area, boundaries, or name of a state has to be referred to the legislature of the state for its views, and 2, the second proviso to Article 3, which requires the consent of the state legislature for increasing or diminishing the area of the state of Jammu and Kashmir or altering the name of the boundary of the state before the introduction of the bill in Parliament.
Conclude that Article 370 was intended to be a temporary provision. As a corollary, there was a mechanism to bring the whole arrangement to an end. The effect of the power under Article 373, once exercised, would be that the article shall cease to be operative. In other words, the mechanism was meant to de-recognize the state's internal sovereignty. Thus, the exercise of power under Article 373 meant that for purposes of the Constitution of India, only the Constitution of India would apply to the Jammu and Kashmir and not any other constitution, that is the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir.
And for more updates on this story, DD India correspondent Vikas Sarthi joins us from New Delhi. Vikas, historic judgment by the Supreme Court. Take us through the fine print of what the court said while abrogating Article 370.
Right, Shubhendu. So first of all, the first and foremost thing which Supreme Court has said that Article 370 was a temporary provision. If we go by the text of the bill and the historical evidence or the documents which Supreme Court has gone through, it clearly establishes that it's a temporary provision. And with if we see the activities in the Jammu and Kashmir, state of Jammu and Kashmir, once the Constituent Assembly dissolved in 1957, the requirement for 370 in fact was over by then, though the center was of the view that due to some political compulsions, the consecutive governments in the state as well as in the center continued with this provision, though it has become irrelevant with the passage of time. And Supreme Court today also placed its reliance on the fact that this is not the first instance when President of India issued any ordinance or any presidential order under clause 3 of Article 370. He said that if we see the past activities for last 70 years, for 7 decades, we have seen similar presidential orders have been issued by President of India, and a kind of constitutional integration was taking place in that period of time. So the Supreme Court has given a ruling that first that 370 was a temporary provision. Apart from it, court has also held that state of Jammu Kashmir doesn't have any kind of sovereignty on its own. Once it signed the instrument of accession, it lost its sovereignty to the India and to the Constitution of India. And apart from it, court also said that even the previous Jammu and Kashmir Constitution doesn't speak about any internal sovereignty of the state. So those were the important issues which Supreme Court has addressed. Apart from it, court has also said that the presidential order with respect to bifurcation of the state in 2 union territories was completely in consonant with the constitution provisions. There is no issue of any illegality on part of the Union of India. So the main of the arguments and demand by the petitioner has been set aside by the Supreme Court with a majority. Though there were 3 judgments, 3 separate judgments, but view are concurrent. All judges are agree that President had a power to revoke Article 370 or to abrogate Article 370, and he exercised that power in consonance with the provisions of Constitution of India.
Because in a manner, the Supreme Court has upheld the government's decision to abrogate Article 370, a big win for the government there, and Prime Minister calls it a beacon of hope.
Exactly, Shubhendu. In fact, if you talk to anybody before 2019, August 2019, most of the legal luminaries was of the opinion that it is a very complex issue, it is very complicated subject, and but if you go through the language of the presidential orders and the subsequent bills, it has been made very clear that President had power to withdraw or to abrogate Article 370 on his own. In fact, Supreme Court has also mentioned that though there were provision in Article 370 that there should be a concurrence of the Legislative Assembly, but today Supreme Court has said that President had power on his own to decide these issues, and even in a case where the Legislative Assembly had a different opinion, the decision of the President will prevail over any decision of the Legislative Assembly. So it's clear that it was a major decision on the part of the Union of India that Article 370 must go now. And in fact, Supreme Court is also of the view that this kind of constitutional integration was in place for last 7 decades, and now we have seen the culmination of that integration.
And Vikas, finally after Supreme Court's judgment, what does the road ahead for Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh look like? The court on its part has spoken about early restoration of statehood and elections.
Right, Shubhendu, two more issues were placed before the Supreme Court. First, that Jammu Kashmir must be given full statehood, complete statehood. Even Centre was of the opinion that it is not against complete statehood to Jammu and Kashmir, and in principle, Centre agreed with this demand. But it also put a point that whenever Centre, Union of India will feel that situation are completely in favor of giving complete statehood to Jammu and Kashmir, that decision will be taken at a relevant point of time. As far as the elections are concerned, Supreme Court has said that Election Commission must ensure that by September 2024, Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly must elect its representatives. So there must be an assembly election by September 2024. And if you go through the activities which right now are taking place in the Parliament, now government has brought a bill which will ensure that scheduled tribe community must get a reservation in Legislative Assembly for the first time in 7 decades. These reservation has been made available for scheduled tribe community and migrant Kashmiris. So even the government is going ahead or moving ahead in that direction, that as soon as possible Jammu and Kashmir must be given its own assembly. Assembly election must take place as early as possible.
There, Vikas, thank you for joining us with those updates. Moving on, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a Viksit Bharat at 2047 Voice of Youth today via video conferencing. Now, Viksit Bharat at 2047 is a platform for the youth of the country to actively engage and contribute in the journey towards developed India. During the program, Prime Minister Modi addressed the Vice-Chancellors of universities, heads of institutes, faculty members in workshops organized at Raj Bhavans across the country to mark the beginning of this initiative.
माय गॉव के अंदर विकसित भारत @2047 सेक्शन लॉन्च हुआ है। इसमें विकसित भारत के विजन के लिए आइडियाज का एक सेक्शन है, और क्योंकि आइडिया की शुरुआत ही आई से होती है, इसलिए इसमें ऐसे आइडिया चाहिए जिसमें वर्णन हो कि मैं स्वयं भी क्या कर सकता हूं। और आइडिया में जैसे आई सबसे पहले हैं, इंडिया में भी आई सबसे पहले है। यानी अगर हमें सफलता पानी है, लक्ष्यों की प्राप्ति करनी है, उचित परिणाम लाना है, तो स्वयं के आई से ही शुरू होता है। ऑनलाइन आइडियाज के पोर्टल पर 5 अलग अलग थीम्स पर सुझाव दिए जा सकते हैं। सबसे बेहतरीन 10 सुझावों के लिए पुरस्कार की भी व्यवस्था की गई है। साथियों, जब मैं सुझावों की बात करता हूं तो आपके सामने खुला आसमान है। हमें देश में एक ऐसी अमृत पीढ़ी को तैयार करना है जो आने वाले वर्षों में देश की कर्णधार बनेगी, जो देश को नेतृत्व और दिशा देगी। हमें देश के एक ऐसी नौजवान पौध को तैयार करना है जो देश हित को सर्वोपरि रखते, जो अपने कर्तव्यों को सर्वोपरि रखें। हमें सिर्फ शिक्षा और कौशल तक ही सीमित नहीं रहना है। एक नागरिक के तौर पर 2400 घंटे देश के नागरिक कैसे सजग रहें, इस दिशा में भी प्रयास बढ़ाने आवश्यक है।
And here are the 10 big takeaways from Prime Minister Modi's speech at Viksit Bharat at 2047 Voice of Youth. Now, he says this period in the history of India when the country is going to take quantum leap. He goes on to say, for India, this is the time, right time. He says, yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai. He also says we have our freedom struggle as huge inspiration when national efforts got concentrated to one goal: independence. Aim of your goals, your resolution should be only one, that is developed India. The Prime Minister says idea starts with an I, just like India begins with an I, the letter I. Development efforts will begin from self. PM says when citizens in whatever role start doing their duty, the country moves forward. The exam date has been declared for us, PM says, as citizens of the country. He says we have 25 years of Amrit Kaal in front of us. We have to work 24 hours a day to achieve it. Youth power is both the agent of change and also the beneficiaries of change. And finally, Prime Minister says the roadmap of progress will be decided by the nation. Viksit Bharat to be built only through Sabka Prayas. Today is the birth anniversary of former Indian President Pranab Mukherjee. Known for his oratory skills, political acumen and knowledge of international relations, Mukherjee served as the 13th President of India from 2012 to 2017. Marking the occasion, India's President Draupadi Murmu paid floral tributes to the former President of India at Rashtrapati Bhavan in the national capital, New Delhi. And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a post on X, paid homage, acknowledging Mukherjee's role as a key policy maker and his efforts to make Rashtrapati Bhavan more accessible to the public. Mukherjee was also praised for his contribution to learning, innovation, culture and literature. Time for a short break, still to come on DD India News Hour. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says that dozens of Hamas fighters had surrendered. COP28 final negotiations underway in Dubai. And ECOWAS to negotiate with Niger junta on return to democracy.
Story of Dal Lake of Naya Kashmir.
मैं बड़ी होकर ऑफिसर बनने चाहती हूँ, दूसरी बात मैं पुलिस बननी चाहती हूँ।
बहुत काम आया, उसका टूरिस्ट आया, उसका काम बहुत जलता है।
यहाँ पे तो अभी बहुत कुछ बदला है। यहाँ का जो अभी गवर्नमेंट है, उन लोगों ने बहुत कुछ किया यहाँ पे। 2-3 सालों से यहाँ पे बहुत टूरिज्म आ रहा है।
Has the post Article 370 abrogation change, the impact of it also percolated when it comes to the local fishing community?
हर एक यहाँ पे रुपया 10 कमा रहा है।
यहाँ पर लोग आते हैं घूमने के लिए, फिर वो खरीदारी करते हैं शॉल्स, पेपर मशी, अखरोट लकड़ का, क्योंकि यहाँ भी लोग है ना, रोजी इनकी भी चलती है यहाँ से।
After 38 years, I have seen tremendous change in this place.
हमारा कश्मीर जो है सबसे खूबसूरत डल लेक, शांति है यहाँ पे।
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The Philippines has summoned China's ambassador to Manila over sea confrontations. The move comes as Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. accused China of aggressive actions against its vessels and personnel over the weekend in the South China Sea. Marcos says the presence of Chinese Coast Guard vessels and maritime militia in his country's waters is illegal, and the dangerous actions against Filipinos is an outright and blatant violation of international law.
We will continue to call on China to be a responsible member of the international community and abide by its commitments, desist from undertaking actions that violate Philippine sovereignty, sovereign rights and jurisdiction in the West Philippine Sea, and undermine the mutual trust and confidence that should underpin bilateral relations.
Amid tensions with Beijing in the South China Sea, Manila's National Security Council spokesperson has called China's aggressive actions against Philippine vessels in the South China Sea a serious escalation.
This is a serious escalation on the part of the agents of the People's Republic of China. The use of water cannons numerous times long-range acoustic devices, or LRADs, as well as other movements against the BFAR vessels, which caused severe, though temporary, discomfort and incapacitation to some Filipino crew, as well as dangerous and unsafe maneuvers, is completely unacceptable.
And for the latest, DD India correspondent Andrew Wood joins us from Hong Kong. Andrew, take us through the details of the incident that led to the latest confrontation between China and Philippines in South China Sea.
Well, it's all about something called the the Second Thomas Shoal, which is basically an atoll, a reef. It barely reaches above sea level. It's about less than 200 kilometers off the coast of the Philippines, and it's more than 1,000 kilometers from the nearest point of China. But China claims this part of the South China Sea as its own. The Philippines says that it's been backed up by the international mediators, that this is part of its territorial waters. Now, the Philippines has a small military outpost there, and every so often it tries to resupply that, and China's Coast Guard tries to stop it, and that's what happened this weekend. In this case, the boats were fired on by a water cannon from the Chinese Coast Guard vessels, and were damaged, so the Philippines says. As far as the Philippines are concerned, the biggest Chinese Coast Guard vessel rammed the biggest Philippine vessel. The Chinese, though, say that it was the other way around, that the Philippine vessel rammed their Coast Guard vessel. So it's a case of, who do you believe on this? One detail that has emerged in the past hour or two is that apparently the head of the Philippines military was actually on one of the Philippine boats. So if he had been injured, then this could have been a much more serious incident. As it is, this is pretty much, par for the course now. We're getting a lot of incidents like this between China and the Philippines over the Second Thomas Shoal.
And Andrew, given that China claims almost the entire South China Sea, it's a contested region, what are the possible outcomes of this escalation?
Well, I think we're probably going to see more and more incidents like this. At the moment, water cannon is sort of, I think both sides are tolerating this. The question is, how long will the Philippines' patience, or for that matter, China's patience, last? Remember that the Philippines and America have grown a lot closer over the past year, and the Philippines is relying more and more on America to provide more strategic defense to deter China. Now, Beijing has told America to keep out of these rows because it says that it's basically China's territorial waters, it's a domestic dispute, and America has no part in it. But I think sooner or later, the Philippines and America are going to have to work out whether or not, next time that this base is supplied, this tiny base on this tiny shoal, whether the Americans will be there as well as backup. And then we could see an American-US confrontation, and that would be a lot more serious.
Andrew, thank you for those updates. And meanwhile, China Foreign Ministry said it strongly protests with Philippines over Philippine vessel insisting on rushing into the disputed waters in the South China Sea. United States has called out China for its actions in the disputed South China Sea, saying it is undermining regional stability. Moving on, as Israel moves forward with its ground operations in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that dozens of Hamas fighters had surrendered, encouraging more of them to do so.
In the past few days, dozens of Hamas terrorists have surrendered to our forces. They are laying down their weapons and turning themselves into our heroic soldiers. This will take time. The war is still ongoing, but it is the beginning of the end of Hamas. I say to the Hamas terrorists, it's over. Don't die for sin war. Surrender now.
And this comes as Israel moves forward with its ground operations in Gaza. Israeli tanks have pushed their way to the heart of Khan Yunis. On Sunday, Israeli leaders further claimed that dozens of Hamas fighters had surrendered. Residents of Khan Yunis have also said that tanks had reached the main north-south road through the city after intense combat through the night. DD India's correspondent Sarah Coates joins us live from Tel Aviv. Sarah, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says some Hamas fighters had surrendered. What is the latest on this development?
Hello. Well, look, many of these videos have been circulating all over social media over the last few days, appearing to show these men stripped down to their underwear, some of them with their hands tied behind their backs, others raising weapons in the air before they put them on the ground. Now, Israeli officials have been saying that this is happening in the north of the Gaza Strip in neighbourhoods like Jabalia and also Shajaya neighbourhood, saying that these are terrorist strongholds. Now, there have also been allegations of Israeli mistreatment of some of these men. Israel is refusing to comment on that, also the amount of people it has arrested. But we did hear from the Israeli government spokesperson, Alon Levy, on this matter. He says that increasing numbers of Hamas fighters are surrendering, saying it's a sign of collapsing morale. And look, what we are hearing from Israeli officials is that it will continue to target these areas. As I said, they are known as Hamas strongholds. We've also heard from Israel saying that when fighting intensifies and when fighting is happening at the entrance to these tunnels, which run right underneath the strip, then that is when these people come out and they are immediately arrested. So we could expect to see more of this in the coming days.
And Sarah, what can you tell us about the ongoing Israeli operation in Khan Yunis and the safety of the hostages?
Well, look, we've been hearing from Israel's national security advisor, Zaki Hanegbi. He's come out to say that this fighting could take months in order to defeat Hamas. Now, airstrikes have been happening right across the strip in the early hours of this morning, including down in Khan Yunis, which is the largest southern city in the Gaza Strip, with residents there ordered to continue moving south to these so-called safe areas, although they say there is simply nowhere safe left for them to go. Now, as it stands, the World Health Organization is really ringing the alarm bells. It says that Gaza's health system is on its knees and is collapsing, saying that only 14 of the 36 hospitals in the Strip are functioning in any capacity. So it's certainly very worrying what we're hearing there from aid groups. We know also that hospitals are completely overcrowded. The Nasser Hospital, which is in Khan Yunis, it is set up to treat around 1,000 people. It has 3 times that amount in there right now, with doctors saying that right now all they can really do is administer first aid. And look, there are concerns over the amount of trucks that are also coming through that Rafah border crossing, given that many of them cannot make it through that crossing due to the number of airstrikes. Now, with regards to the hostages, there are still 137 Israeli and foreign hostages being kept in the Gaza Strip. And over the last few hours, Hamas came out to level a warning at Israel, saying that none of these people would make it out alive unless Israel releases all the Palestinian prisoners that it has in Israeli jails. And look, there are more than 7,000 of them. And this really comes as there's pressure mounting on the Israeli government from right across the Israeli, society, with people saying that the government needs to do more, needs to do everything in its power to bring these people home, even if it is swapping these hostages with all of these prisoners.
Sarah, thank you for those updates. Moreover, European Union foreign ministers will gather for a meeting in Brussels on Monday, where EU will consider possible next steps to respond to the Middle East crisis, including a crackdown on Hamas's finances. And still to come on DD India News Hour. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to appear before COVID-19 inquiry. It's the second day of voting in Egypt's presidential elections.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political, and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. India's Supreme Court upholds abrogation of Article 370, directs early restoration of statehood and elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls it historic. Prime Minister Modi launches Viksit Bharat at 2047, platform for youth to contribute towards developed India. Indian stock market on record high. BSE Sensex crosses 70,000 mark for the first time. Nifty 50 trading above 21,000 level. The Supreme Court of India on Monday upheld the abrogation of Article 370. On August 5th, 2019, Indian government revoked Article 370, which grants special status to North Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. DD India Sakal Bhatt gets us this exclusive ground report from Jama Masjid Market, heart of downtown. Erstwhile terror bastions is now thriving with business and economic activities. Massive shift post the abrogation of Article 370.
For decades and decades, downtown area of Srinagar has always been symbolic of unrest, turbulence, turmoil, disturbances, arson, band, hartals, terror attacks, and everything that has to do with the disruption. But now, is it a transition that the downtown in Srinagar, which traditionally is called Sheher-e-Khas, is witnessing? What we are going to tell you is the story of the making of New Kashmir. I'm right now standing in the middle of the Jama Masjid market, and this is how a weekday here looks like. On my left is a very famous Jama Masjid market, which continues to witness very busy business activity. And on my right is a very famous Jama Masjid mosque situated in Nauhata in the downtown middle of the old city in Srinagar. Jama Masjid में आपकी दुकान कैसी चल रही है आजकल?
गांव से आता है वो शॉपिंग करने आता है वो थोड़ा काम चलता है बंद क्या बंद ये दुकान हालात बिल्कुल ठीक है कुछ नहीं होता है हाँ रिनोवेट किया गवर्नमेंट ने वो भी अच्छा है और अगर करे तो मरम्मत वो अच्छा रहेगा हाँ टूरिस्ट भी आता है बहुत आया गया आता है अंग्रेज भी आता है
Aftab Ahmed Khan has this textile shop, and this shop has been here since last more than
43 years.
43 years means 4 decades. And this shop, or perhaps Aftab Saab, has been privy to the decades of unrest and much more. But what has been the shift? What has been the change? Aftab Saab, ये बताइए आपका काम कैसा चल रहा है?
बिजनेस तो पहले से चल रहा है, अच्छा चल रहा है हमारा इस मार्केट में चल रहा है बिल्कुल अच्छा चल रहा है यहाँ कम से कम है 600 दुकानें हैं 8,000 लोग इधर काम करते हैं हर एक दुकानदार के पास 4-4, 5-5 सेल्समैन हैं अब उनका देखिए कि अयाल उनकी फैमिली ये बनता है 8,000 इधर काउंटर काम है बिल्कुल कैश गाँव से बारामूला कुपवारा पुलवामा सोपोर सब इधर आते हैं
क्या टर्नओवर होगा इस मार्केट का अब
जिनको होगा 1-2 करोड़ टर्नओवर बिल्कुल कैश टर्नओवर
So this is the story of the journey of the last 4 years or more post-abrogation of Article 370. The making of the Naya Kashmir or New Kashmir, which is all about peace and not door pelting. It is all about development and not disruption. It is all about stability and not uncertainty or stagnation. It is all about transformation and not about turbulence. It's not about terror now, it's all about transition to education, to employment, to development and much more. The peace will prevail paradise on earth, the beauty of this valley will prevail, and that is the will of the people, and that is the intent of the people. Abrogation of Article 370 has brought in a new lease of life, a new lease of hope for the Kashmiris here. This is the story of the new Kashmir.
And India's Supreme Court upheld on Monday a 2019 decision by government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to revoke the special status for the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court of India upheld the central government's 2019 move to abrogate Article 370, a constitutional provision that granted special status to the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. This historic verdict, delivered by a constitution bench led by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, signals a pivotal moment in the nation's legal landscape. Top court's decision has set the stage for elections in the region.
Whether the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, by which the state of Jammu and Kashmir was bifurcated into two union territories, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh, is constitutionally valid, bearing in mind, 1, the first proviso to Article 3, which requires that a bill affecting the area, boundaries, or name of a state has to be referred to the legislature of the state for its views, and 2, the second proviso to Article 3, which requires the consent of the state legislature for increasing or diminishing the area of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, or altering the name of the boundary of the state before the introduction of the bill in Parliament.
India's Prime Minister on his social media platform termed the verdict as historic, saying the verdict constitutionally upholds the decision taken by the Parliament of India on the 5th of August 2019. It is a resounding declaration of hope, progress and unity for our sisters and brothers in Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. He added that the apex court, in its profound wisdom, has fortified the very essence of unity that we as Indians hold dear and cherish above all else. Prime Minister also gave assurance to the people of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh that government's commitment to fulfilling their dreams remains unwavering. Government remains determined to ensure that the fruits of progress not only reaches but also extend benefits for the most vulnerable, marginalized sections of the society who suffered due to Article 370. Prime Minister added, "The verdict today is not just a legal judgment, it is a beacon of hope, a promise of a brighter future, and a testament to our collective resolve to build a stronger, more united India." India's Home Minister said that after the abrogation of Article 370, the rights of the poor and deprived have been restored, and separatism and stone pelting are now things of the past. Minister also said that under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, government is committed to establishing lasting peace in Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh and the all-round development of the region. India's Defence Minister also termed it as historic. He added that the decision of the Supreme Court is going to make every Indian happy. By abolishing Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has not only written a new chapter, but has also given new strength to the unity and integrity of India. Today, Jammu and Kashmir has entered a new era of development. Article 370 accorded a special status to the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir within the Indian Union. It restricted Parliament's legislative powers in respect of Jammu and Kashmir. In 2019, Home Minister Amit Shah said Article 370 was harmful for the unity of the nation. This monumental decision set in motion a series of transformative changes that have had a profound impact on the region, its people, and its potential for growth. Government's focus on infrastructure development has been evident through numerous projects launched in the region. This has not only improved connectivity, but has also made Jammu and Kashmir a preferred destination for tourists.
Stocks in the Asian markets gained in early trading as investors are gearing up for an eventful week. India Sensex scaled a new high on Monday, with benchmark index crossing 70,000 mark for the first time. The Sensex scaled new heights after Reserve Bank of India, RBI, held rates steady in its latest policy review. Positive foreign inflow trends, cooling crude prices and the ruling BJP's recent state election wins that have been read as a sign of political stability by market participants. NSE's Nifty 50, which opened at 20,000, surged to all-time high of 21,000. Japanese benchmark indices jumped at least 1%, and key Korean shares were also up. Futures contracts for US shares were little changed after Wall Street rose Friday to notch a sixth straight weekly gain. As the markets appeared buoyant, traders are looking forward to the release of key US inflation data and the Federal Reserve's final call on rates expected later this week. The US markets had set the tone on Friday after a surprise fall in the US unemployment rate, which triggered positive sentiment amidst optimism of soft landing of the economy and avoiding necessary trends. In other news, in response to media queries on reports of MEA's secret memo in April 2023, Indian Ministry of External Affairs has strongly asserted that such reports are fake and completely fabricated and that there is no such memo. It said this is part of a sustained disinformation campaign against India. The outlet in question is known for propagating fake narratives peddled by Pakistani intelligence. The posts of the authors confirm this linkage. Those who amplify such fake news only do so at the cost of their own credibility. Let's now take a look at other stories making news in India. A statue of Tamil poet and philosopher Thiruvalluvar has been inaugurated in the town in France. A mayor of Cambodian Jean-Paul Jourdan shared pictures of the inauguration on X. Responding to the post, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi acknowledged Thiruvalluvar as a symbol of wisdom and knowledge and said the statue was a beautiful testament to the shared cultural bond between France and India. India's President Draupadi Murmu is on a two-day visit to the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Commencing today, the President in Varanasi attended 45th convocation of Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapith University. Schools in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu have reopened after remaining closed for a week owing to cyclone Migjom. For the last couple of days, efforts have been made to clear any water stagnation in schools and college premises. The campuses were cleaned and the functioning of sanitary facilities ensured. Rail service has resumed between India's Kasara and Igatpuri after completion of restoration work on the down line. A total of 7 coaches of goods train derailed near Kasara railway station in Maharashtra on Sunday. The derailment resulted in the routes of 20 express trains being diverted. No one was reported injured. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is facing questions at the country's COVID-19 inquiry on Monday for a day-long hearing examining his role in response to the pandemic. DD India's Ollie Bharat reports from London.
One of the key areas for questioning we know for Rishi Sunak will be the so-called Eat Out to Help Out scheme, which he ran as Chancellor, as Finance Minister in August of 2020. The idea was to subsidise on behalf of the government eating out in restaurants. The plan was designed to get more people back into hospitality as it reopened after UK COVID-19 lockdown. Several scientists since have said that they believe that Eat Out to Help Out was partly responsible for, again, spreading COVID-19, which potentially led to further COVID lockdowns in the United Kingdom. One of the scientists who was working with the government at the time has described, we understand now, due to documents that have since been released, Rishi Sunak as Dr. Death as a result of the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. So that will be a key area of questioning. One of the other elements that we expect Rishi Sunak to be asked about is the furlough scheme that the UK government put in place during COVID-19. He was the finance minister at the time, which rolled out this scheme, which was designed to pay the salaries of people who were not able to go to work at the time and as a result work from home during the COVID-19 pandemic and other parts of the economy as well. Rishi Sunak facing a difficult period of questioning, therefore, although politically perhaps he's rather more focused this week on the Rwanda immigration policy, which comes to Parliament on Tuesday for a vote which the Prime Minister very much needs to win to secure the future of his premiership. So a difficult week politically for Rishi Sunak as he faces the COVID-19 inquiry, but also a key vote and key discussions with his Conservative parliamentarians when it comes to his Rwanda immigration policy. Ollie Bharat in London reporting for DD India.
And today is second day of voting in Egypt presidential elections that began at 900 hours local time nationwide, with 4 candidates contesting for presidency, including incumbent President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. More than 9,000 polling stations across the country will be open 12 hours per day until Tuesday, with results due to be announced on December 18th. The election comes as the country grapples with an economic crisis and a war on its border with Gaza. The other 3 contestants are Social Democratic Party Farid Zahran, Egyptian Al-Wafd Party's Abdel Sanad Yamana, and People's Republican Party candidate Hazem Omar Sisi, who's running for a 3rd consecutive term, won the elections both with an overwhelming majority earlier in 2014 as well as in 2018. Results of the Hong Kong's District Council ordinary election came out on Monday, with 176 district committees, constituency councillors and 88 geographical constituency councillors getting elected. Hong Kong's patriots-only district election, held amid tight security, had witnessed a record low voter turnout of 27.5%, lesser than 35.8% turnout of 1999, with many voters expressing disdain and called it an undemocratic poll since it barred opposition Democrats and Liberals from participating. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Javier Milei took the oath as president of Argentina. The renowned libertarian economist registered a landslide victory following people's fury over the country's economic crisis. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen arrived in Vietnam for his 2-day visit on the invitation of Prime Minister PM Hun Sen. In his first visit to Vietnam as the Prime Minister of Cambodia, he is going to discuss ways to enhance sound relations between the 2 countries. Time for a short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Inaugural edition of Khelo India Para Games kicks off in style at New Delhi's IG Stadium. Girona reclaims top spot in La Liga after beating champions Barcelona.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
This is a story of Dal Lake of Naya Kashmir.
मैं बड़ी होकर ऑफिसर बनने चाहती हूँ, दूसरी बात मैं पुलिस बननी चाहती हूँ।
बहुत काम आया, उसका टूरिस्ट आया, उसका काम बहुत जलता है।
यहाँ पे तो अभी बहुत कुछ बदला है। यहाँ का जो अभी गवर्नमेंट है, उन लोगों ने बहुत कुछ किया है यहाँ पे। 2-3 सालों से यहाँ पे बहुत टूरिज्म आ रहा है।
Has the post Article 370 abrogation change, the impact of it also percolated when it comes to the local fishing community?
हर एक यहाँ पे ₹10 कमा रहा है।
यहाँ पर लोग आते हैं घूमने के लिए, फिर वो खरीदारी करते हैं शॉल्स, पेपर मशी, अखरोट लकड़ का, क्योंकि यहाँ भी लोग हैं ना, रोजी इनकी भी चलती है यहाँ से।
After 38 years.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Time now for all the action from the world of sports. My colleague Deepika joins us. Deepika, focus on Khelo India Para Games this time.
Indeed, we have the first ever Khelo India Para Games as well, apart from the Youth Games and University Games. So first to our viewers, let's get all the updates of Khelo India Para Games 2023. The inaugural edition of Khelo India Para Games 2023 kicked off in style with a grand opening ceremony at New Delhi's IG Stadium. Here's a report by DD India correspondent Suchitra that brings you all that you need to know about the grand opening ceremony.
The opening ceremony of the first edition of Khelo India Para Games took place in the IG Stadium in New Delhi on Monday. The opening ceremony began with a power-packed performance by the police band. Dancers from VR1 group performed on a medley of patriotic songs, showcasing the never-say-die attitude of the para-athletes. There was a special performance on the theme song of Khelo India that showcased the spirit of Khelega India, Khilega India. That is, India will play, India will flourish. One of the major attractions was an LED dance performance on the theme Evolution of Para Games in India, which showed how India has gone from strength to strength in Para Games. The Prime Minister sent a special message for the first edition of Khelo India Para Games. The torch of the first edition was lit at the event. Union Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur formally inaugurated the first edition of Khelo India Para Games.
Viksit Bharat पैरा एथलीट्स के बिना पूरा ही नहीं हो सकता, हमारे दिव्यांगजन के बिना पूरा ही नहीं हो सकता। इसीलिए तो अब बॉर्डर विलेज नहीं कहा जाता, उसको फर्स्ट विलेज कहा जाता है। आज विकलांग नहीं दिव्यांग कहा जाता है। ये केवल नाम बदलने के नहीं, ये सोच बदलने का काम है और सुविधाएं देने का काम है जो मोदी सरकार में हुआ है। और जब सुविधाएं मिलती है, सोच बदलते हैं, तो नए कीर्तिमान भी स्थापित होते हैं जो हमारे पैरा एथलीट्स ने किए हैं। मैं इनको बहुत-बहुत बधाई देता हूं।
Union Sports Minister also posed with the official mascot of Khelo India Para Games, Ujjwala. The ceremony concluded with a performance united by sports. Over 1,400 participants from across 32 states and union territories will participate in the first ever Khelo India Para Games. These athletes will take part in 7 disciplines to be held across 3 SAI stadiums in New Delhi.
And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by Suchitra, DD India correspondent straight from IG Stadium. Suchitra, this is a proud moment indeed for all the Indians because we are witnessing the first ever Khelo India Para Games. How excited the players have been for this event, Suchitra.
Yes, definitely, Deepika. It's a big step. It's a welcome step because we know that, Para Games were missing from the bouquet of Khelo India. We always had Khelo India Youth Games, Khelo India University Games, in fact, Khelo India Winter Games too. But now we can say that the Khelo India is complete with the inclusion of Para Games because we have seen how our Para athletes have performed in the international events. The Para athletes, they performed brilliantly in the Para Asian Games, and these Para Games, the Khelo India Para Games, they will provide a big platform to the Para athletes of the country, and they will go from strength to strength. They will get the chance to showcase their talent on the grassroots level, and eventually they will go on to represent India on the international level. So yes, it's a welcome step. Step that we all were waiting for. Finally, the first edition of Khelo India Para Games has begun.
And
Deepika.
also, Suchitra, when we talk about transformation, we saw a special LED segment also in the opening ceremony. But when we talk about that transformation in real life, we witnessed the numbers of the first Asian Para Games also, and how Team India has been performing in the seasons that has gone by so far. So what do you have to say about this stupendous transformation, Suchitra?
yes, that was one of the major highlights of the opening ceremony. It was, they have just showcased how India has gone from strength to strength, from where we started and from where we have reached. We all have seen how India fared really well in the Para-Asian Games, and we can just see that, we have a very bright future in the Para Games, because, India, we want to become a sporting superpower, and if you want to become a superpower in the field of sports, you have to perform well in every major international events. So if there is an Olympic, there is a Paralympic simultaneously, and if there are an Asian Games, there are going to be Para-Asian Games. So yes, we have to focus on performing really well at the international level, be it in the Olympics or the Paralympics, Asian Games or the Para-Asian Games. We have to showcase our strength in the world of sports, because our para athletes are secondary to none in the world. So this is the right platform for them. In the coming future, we will see more para-athletes coming from the country, and India's medal tally will rise.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Suchitra, for joining us. Well, moving on, Indian para badminton team's head coach, Gaurav Khanna, said that the launch of Khelo India Para Games has opened doors for para athletes on the global stage. It will also attract a fresh wave of youth to showcase their sporting talent. DD India correspondent Narayan Singh spoke to Gaurav Khanna exclusively. Let's take a listen to him.
If we talk about this scheme, this Para Games, that its inclusion in the Khelo India series, so how you look this initiative?
It's a step of government towards sending a message of equality among everyone. So because they have previously organized the events for various segments of Khelo India, that includes university games and open Khelo India events for various sports. So this is a segment which has been particularly dedicated to para sports. 7 sports has been taken up.
How you look this performance and the kind of performance they are delivering in other international tournaments also?
Basically, now we have made a very strong presence at international circuit. Para badminton is definitely doing well, and if I will talk about my tenure as head national coach, it's been more than 800 medals in BWF recognized competitions since 2015. And that includes more than 200 gold medals.
So how you look this thing that the government is on rapid mode to promote sports, not only para, not only the other sports. So overall, it's a matter of inclusivity also.
It's the team of Government of India, of Sports Authority of India, of Ministry of Youth Affairs, and of course the federation members which are involved to conduct this mega event. It's really a challenging task, and which the team is definitely doing well at their best. So I'll definitely say that in order to include, in order to spread up the feeling of inclusion among the differently able athletes, government is not leaving any stone unturned. So I appreciate government for their initiative and their help for the athletes.
And in a short span of time, we are seeing that the inaugural edition of the Khelo India Para Games is on ground, and our athletes are performing here. With camera person Senthil, Narayan Singh for DD India, Delhi.
Moving on to soccer now, Girona reclaimed top spot in La Liga after beating champions Barcelona by 4-2. They handed Xavi Hernandez's side their second league defeat of the season. Artem Dovbyk put Girona in front of the 12th minute before Robert Lewandowski equalized for the hosts 7 minutes later. Miguel Gutierrez restored Girona's lead before halftime, and Valery Fernandez made it 3-1. Ilkay Gundogan pulled another goal back for Barcelona before Girona's Christian Stuani scored their 4th in stoppage time. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to Shubhendu.
Thanks, Deepika, for those updates. India's semiconductor industry is witnessing a significant growth, with reports indicating a massive surge in semiconductor jobs in the country. According to a latest report, American tech firm Micron is set to erect one of India's most extensive assembly, testing, marking and packaging facilities at Sanand. Israel Star Semiconductor is likely to establish semiconductor fabrication plant in India. Tata Group to invest 200 crores Indian rupees in semiconductor testing and packaging unit in Bengaluru. Tata Semiconductor Assembly and Test Private Limited is expected to generate some 155 employment opportunities. American semiconductor company AMD will establish new design center campuses in Bengaluru, creating some 3,000 engineering positions over the next 5 years. Another US firm, Lam Research, to initiate the training of 60,000 Indian engineers through the Semiverse solution for semiconductor education. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.